Welcome to the start of a new anime review series. Yes, it has been a while since I started the new one. I mean, the last new one I did was Jobless Reincarnation. Yeah. And how long ago did I start that? Back in July. Yes, seriously. That was my. That was my. As far as I can tell, that was my most recent series that I actually did. Was that one. Mm-hmm. No, that's not it here. This might be right here. Okay, I thought that was my last one, but technically no. There have been about three others. I think like the last special one I did start was Drugstore in Another World. Yeah, that apparently was my last one, not Jobs Incarnation. Yep. And one thing I noticed though, like some of the books in the series of this year are based on light novels, like Absolute Duo, The Hidden Angel and Get Enter, The Last Crusade of the Rise of a New World, Combatants Be Dispatched, of course, Jobs Incarnation, Heroes Hero of the Kingdom, Drugs in the World. This is by far the, let's see, this year, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Yeah, this is only like the eighth series that was based upon a light novel. This is called Do You Love Your Mom and Her Two Multi Hit Target Attacks. Yes, that is seriously the name of this series. I checked out this series based upon pure curiosity. This is discussing the first two episodes of the series. Now, I should point something I have not mentioned in quite some time. That when I finished up reading this particular book, the first volume for the series, for this one, which is volume one, which is called, where is it? Here we go. It's called Can you Get Along If You Go on Adventure Trip with Your Mother? Yes, seriously. And when I read the book, this is 185 pages, and the first two episodes cover about half the book, I'd say. Now, who are the characters, you might ask? Well, the first episode introduces to the two stars of the series. You have Memiko, the mother of the main character, which, wow. Yeah, by the way, the anime is done by JC Staff, which, that's another good one for me. Yeah, last one I think I checked out from them was probably How Real Is Here with the Kingdom. Yeah, I think that was my most recent one I did from them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my most recent series that I worked on from them. And before that, it was Eden Zero. So, if you're curious to like how many series have I watched that JC Staff made, and I'm looking it up on here. Don't worry, this will take me just a bit to figure it out. Let's see. Let's see. There is one. Huh. Two. Three. Well, so far it's three. Four. Five. Six. Seven. I think this is overall my eighth series I've covered that they made. Yep. I like JC Staff's artistic art style. Now, in the case of, well, the other character, the one who's the male lead of the series, his name is Mestico. Well, Misiko, as I can pronounce him. Yes, and his mother calls him Makun. He hates the nickname. Now, he is a high schooler who is sent to this other reality by a government agency known as the Cabinet, which I have looked up this government agency. It is a legit government agency in Japan known as the Cabinet. Oh, and this series aired 2 years ago. Yep, from July to September. So yeah, this series actually had this last episode air like 1 month prior to the start of Cautious Hero and Valek's Love. Yes. Now yes, the series is licensed by Aniplex America, which the last series I covered that they did the series for Lights Over Here It was Kaguya-sama Love is War. Yep, that was the last one they did. Of course, yes, I have watched also Demon Slayer as well, in case you might ask. Excuse me. Now, one thing about Mystico, I should Memiko about her. She is a very beautiful woman. According to the book, she's pushing 40. I'm like, this woman's apparently about 40? Like, damn, this woman's hot. And yes, I do know about Watch Mojo's top 10 hot anime moms and how she made #1. And I'm like, they had Hanana as an honorable mention. And I'm like, why did you put her on the list? She's still hot at her age. She's only like 32. Well, that's something else altogether. Now, Memiko is a very doting mother to her son. Her son, basically, the first time you see him is that she is basically making food for him. What looks like a Japanese, like, pastry or some kind of meal, whatever. And he, of course, is doing a survey about his mother. And this ties into the video game on how well he gets along with his mother. Yes, seriously. And then, of course, there's this woman named Semiko, I believe her name is. Yes, and she shows up in the first episode. So, after he does the survey, and then someone from the cabinet named Sinkis, I think, it's a woman with purple hair, who shows up and sits on the floor. Looked like to be Medico's bedroom. Yes. And of course, they talk to her briefly. They talk to her, and of course, Memiko leaves the room. They talk, and then of course, they're like, oh, and of course, she does a survey, and she just jumps on his computer, logs him in, and he goes straight into the video game, like, oh, this is so good. And of course, like, she's like, and his mom comes back, Makan, and of course, he's wondering, like, oh, maybe he'll come back, she'll give him a hug. Nope, she decided to follow him in, and I'm like, really? Yes, that is the thing with this isekai, is that his mom joins him on his adventure. Just cause. Well, it's later revealed that's part of the game. You have to basically get close with your mom. And I hope it's not what I'm thinking. Basically, a close parent-child relationship. I'm hoping that. But I'm hoping not the other thing, which I'm not going to bring up here. So, they arrive in the world. And, of course, he's mad at the fact his mom does not mention why she's here until the end of the first episode. So they got to meet the guy in charge of the teleportation palace. Now, there's a slight wording change here from the actual light novel. I'm not sure how it was in the manga because I haven't read the manga yet. That he showed that is based on light novels where Memiko introduced herself and it's like, this is my son Makan, and he was gonna go with, in the book he said, Lore, my son Makan, and of course he's like, no, it's Mystico. And he's like, fine. And of course, he registered them under their real names. Now, by the way, this whole little screen thing that they use, not the first anime I've seen this in. Yeah, I've also seen this in, I believe it was The Rise of the Shield Hero. They use the same exact thing. It's basically a stat screen. And they also use this in Death March Thriller Rhapsody, which makes this the third anime I've seen this in, which I don't mind this at all. This is perfectly fine. Now, you might ask, like, oh, maybe they had it in Sword Art Online. I haven't watched the anime yet, so please don't spoil it for me. I do know about the anime. I might watch in the future. It's a potential series I might watch, but I don't know if they have it too. If they have it there, if you want to say in the comments below, go right ahead. Just don't spoil the anime for me. That's all I ask, because I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, because I've only read the first couple books for the series. I will probably watch it in the future. I'm not sure when, per se, but I will probably watch it. So, after they basically discuss stuff, and of course, well, both the king and Mystico is like embarrassed, and of course he walks up, there's these three swords. These were like three swords because he's referred to as the normal hero, and Memiko is referred to as the noble hero's mother. And I'm like, that's kind of odd. But that's how they go with, like, okay, and they're both combat specialists. Like, okay, but no crafting. I'm like, okay. So, and he just goes straight to the sword in the middle. He just picks up and, like, oh yeah, he's a true hero because he picked that sword. He says as though in his inner thoughts that he basically was drawn to his sword and he just picks it up. And then his mom is like, can I have a sword? And he's like, sure. And he just walks up and grabs their two swords. And of course the king's like, what? You grab both swords? Yep. And then they go into another room. By the way, it's not what you think. It's basically a training room to show off their attacks. We have the fire sword. We have a fire sword and a water sword. The first sword decides to pull up freaking spikes to the floor, a bunch of monsters, and the other one just, well, turning like water, whatever. And of course, Mystico tries his sword and takes out one bird. Like, okay. So then, of course, they go and then right afterwards, they go to a nearby town. Like, okay, typical adventure party. And they just walk around like, oh, this is nice. And of course, well, they put a whole thing of yen. That's a Japanese currency. It's yen. Now, if this was U.S. currency, like they mentioned like 100 yen. I think 100 yen, I think it might be like $1, I think. I'm not really sure. Let's see. How much is like 100 yen in like U.S. Let's see, 100 yen is like $1. Yeah, it's like barely $1. Mm-hmm. So basically going for like cheap product here. Mm-hmm. Yep, going for cheap product. And then of course we got Mentor's Guild, and then she's like, can I have all my swords? Like, sure. And then she just slices up the front door, which I thought was kind of hilarious. And this happens in episode 2. Mm-hmm. So they go in and she of course blasts the door open. And by the way, it's the same woman from the, like, wait, that's before it's like, oh yeah, I'm just basically a receptionist. And she's bleeding, and she's like, oh yeah, that's just an in-game effect. And I'm like, why did they just treat her for the cut on her head that's seriously bleeding? So they do interviews to have for a party. And of course, Mamiko obviously joins the party. And then of course you have Mystico picking 3 women to join the party. Now, of course, no problem with the women from his perspective, and his mother thinks his interviews become potential brides for her son, and she rejects all of them. And then they come to the 4th contestant. Her name is Porter. Yes, she is from the book, and they mention she's a merchant. In the book, they mention she's a traveling merchant. Yeah, I'm not really sure where they dropped the name traveling part of her title. It just that she can basically pray stuff. Yes, they do keep the thing that she's a walking coupon from the book, which I do appreciate that. They keep that part of the dialogue. And then, of course, she, well, even though you might think it's useless, but she's basically very helpful. She goes as a support person. And then, of course, they come across this woman named Wise the Sage, who apparently they later reveal in the episode she has issues with her own mother. And then, of course, we have Mystico try to tear the thing up, and she tosses away, and then he tries to step onto it. Apparently, we see the paper where he starts insulting the picture, and apparently he had these little, like, comical, like, angry popping veins thing we see on the piece of paper. And after he steps on it, it transforms into a woman because, Wise transforms into a piece of paper. And then of course, she transforms Mystico outside. They have a chat, of course, do an interview. He kind of basically accepts her to the party, but she's later jailed, then she's later freed. In exchange, well, of course, she thought, though, she could take that, once the fish returned, that she's hoping that Mystico can adopt her as a daughter. And Mystico's like, Mamiko's like, I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to help you reconcile with your mother. And they mention she's a vile woman, and yes, she is. That's how she is described in the book, and they do confront her toward the end of the book. Oh, don't worry about that. I think the end probably will cover that, no problem. Probably want to get to episode 4. And, well, she joins the party, and it's a party of 4. Now, of course, they do have one person to join the party a little bit later on. Don't worry about that. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, for the start of the series, it's actually pretty good. The only thing I don't like about this, no dub. And you're thinking, really? Another series with no dub. Yeah, I'm not really sure why in the world they decided to do this. Yeah, I don't really know. Hmm. Yeah, it's not the first anime I come across where there is no dub for it. I mean, if you want to think of some anime that I've watched where there's no dub, there's some come to mind like Pandora Hearts. No dub for that one. Let's see. Valak's Love had no dub. Yeah, we just subbed the whole time. Um, or Himiko, I think it's called. That was one of the series I covered last year. Yeah, that one had no dub. And you're thinking, really? That one had no dub? Yeah, seriously, had no dub. Let's see. Witchcraft Works did not have a dub. My Wife is Doing Press. That one did not technically at the time not have a dub, but it was going to get a dub anyway, so I really don't count that one. Help Fox Knuckles, so this one did not have a dub. Or Himari did not have a dub. Some of them did, but not all of them. Yes. Yeah, but in the case of, for the start of this, it's pretty good. I'm definitely looking forward to watching the next couple. And you might be asking, Nick, what about the Super Sentai? I thought you were going to cover that in the cover of Welcome Demons Kuromukon. I will get back to that. I just want to take a brief break because I'm watching Super Sentai for a little while now, so I want to take a brief break from it just so I can catch up with some light novels and watch a new anime. I had an itch to start a new anime for a while now, so I figured, though, why not do this one? This is actually what I was planning to do anyway, so why not? Okay, so that's it for Circle of You. Stay tuned for hopefully one more video of this today. And as for when the next one come out, like when we cover like the next few episodes, depends upon when I get the book 2. By the way, the first book for this series was my 302nd book I've read for overall for light novels. Yes, seriously. Yeah, it's a 302nd light novel overall that I have read. Yeah, my 300th, if you're curious though, that was a Free as Zero Volume 3. Yes, it was. Yeah, Free as Zero Volume 3 was in fact my 300th book I read. My next book, of course, when I see my shirt, I'm reading one of the Bleach books. I will eventually get to book 2. I have to read some more books first before I get to that, okay? So, I will definitely do the next couple episodes soon, just not at the moment. They will be up soon, probably a little bit later. But I just wanted to cover the first 2 episodes. Yeah, I kind of did something similar what I did with Jobless Incarnation, but that was technically the last older anime that was not having episodes at the moment per se, or at least upcoming episodes. Well, this is the first one since that one that I've covered. Even yes, I have covered 3 other anime since then, but those were just starting. And in the case of this one, yeah, this one is kind of like Jobless Incarnation, even though Jobless Incarnation did start airing new episodes just a few days ago. So, I count that as pretty much my first one since that one. But the last one officially was Drugstore of the World. Okay, so that's it for Circle of You. Stay tuned for episode 2, which covers episode 3 to 4. Okay, so next video. Bye.